Sure. It was back in about 1999, and I'd just come back from Korea, and I was living in the States, and nothing was working in terms of business. And I met a translator, a French translator, who introduced me to his agency customer list. And it was a time that was very unlike today because I was able to just contact them and bang, I had work coming out my ears very, very quickly. It doesn't work that easily anymore. But yeah, so suddenly I was making an income, and it was a decent income, and I was very happy, and I just have ridden the wave since then. Yeah, I mean, I've been working with the technology for a long time, but I do remember it wasn't always that way. When I first started out, even cat tools, I remember being quite confused by the concept of translation memory and trying to work my way through Trados and understanding what this segmenting stuff was about. It really didn't click for me that quickly, but I did finally figure it out. And cat tools are, well, you can't really be a modern translator, I think, without understanding them. And so, as I was going on, I'm always looking for ways to be more efficient, because in our business, learning to be efficient is pretty important as other factors in the environment work against us. And so, I was looking at other things, and for many years, I was looking at machine translation. Of course, I thought that machine translation was going to replace me many, many years ago, and it never quite did. So that the fear never goes away, but it does seem to always kind of go off into the distance a little bit longer. And I remember, but I remember trying machine translation and thinking, this isn't helping. It's not making me faster. And so for many years, it was really I kept dipping my toe in it, and it didn't really work, and I didn't use it. And then it's been about 3 years now, I did finally attend a seminar that was focused on modern MT's plugin, and it was adaptive. And I thought, what, wow, that's pretty clever. And so I used it for a couple of years, and it worked really well, at least by the standards that I had at the time. It definitely helped. So that was the key point. It helped. It did more than just distract. And so what I think the epiphany for me was that it wasn't just helping me be faster, it was also helping me be better. And so I didn't have to focus on efficiency only. I could also focus on it. I'm just translating better. It's helping me come up with wordings that I wouldn't have used otherwise. It's getting me out of ruts in the way I write. And so I used that for a while. And then when ChatGPT came along at the end of 2022, I tried it, and then that one really did click for me. It clicked immediately. I saw it, and I saw the potential for my workflow right off the bat. And I also noticed that it did considerably better than Modern MT's plugin. Now, maybe they've improved it. So I'm not going to say what it is now, but I can tell you at the end of 2022, when I compared it to ChatGPT, it was hands down the generative AI was better. So I switched immediately, and I've been using it since then. And so since then, I've just been working to try to refine my techniques and make it better, and working on the tool. And so those are the things that I've been working on. And as far as transforming my workflow goes, I would say that on certain workflows, it's not that big a deal. It doesn't. It's hard to plug it into some workflows, but in others it plugs in really, really well. And so the gains are not steady. You can't just say every job's going to be 20% faster and better with generative AI. Some are going to be not any better at all. Others are going to be even more. And so it's still hard to figure out where the improvements are going to be, and what the best techniques, because going from an understanding of a technology at a basic level to actually integrating that into a workflow is really quite a big jump. I mean, a year ago we were all like, wow, it can do this, it can do that, it can do this and that. And then we sat down and started using it and thinking, well, but it's not really efficient right now. I mean, it's an awful lot of work to change it to past tense. I could just type that in myself. And so figuring out how to make that more efficient at a level that makes it worth using for each and every workflow. That's been an obsession of mine as well. Well, so it's not that easy. There are a lot of tools coming out with AI now, and so you can use them. And some of the tools are, they're so automated that they make the process faster, maybe in some ways, better in some ways. But I think it's really important for translators to realize that we're not going to get paid extra for workflows that somebody else makes better for us. And so, if the CAT tool suddenly has this really great function that makes your work go 20% faster, over the short term, you might not have to give that away. But in the long term, you're not going to get to keep that benefit if you didn't do anything to improve it. You have to develop new skills and new ways of working, new workflows beyond what's being given to us. And so finding tools that will help you to go beyond that, finding techniques. In the conference we're doing, I'm going to be talking about the GATE workflow, the generative AI integrated workflow. And it's not easy. It's not an easy workflow at all. There are a lot of things that you have to keep in mind. It's a lot of trouble. There's a lot of workarounds. But the idea is that by developing a skill that's more than just being given to us, we can hopefully develop a competitive edge that we can sustain. So as far as what I would suggest to translators who are new to AI, I think you should get in and use it. And I will say this: if it doesn't click for you the first time, I think you just have to keep working at it, because I think back to my experience with translation memory and how long it took me even to get that, and today it makes perfect sense. A lot of things take a learning period that aren't easy, and you have to really struggle. And I think the way that you learn is to really be obsessed with finding ways to use it and implement it and actually using it and finding things that work and don't work. And over time, it just kind of, it just kind of seeps into your thinking and your way of working. And you have to think about it this way too. The AI tools that we're using today are the worst that we're ever going to use. And so you can look at something and you can say, wow, the AI is too slow, or it's too expensive, or it's too clumsy right now. I think I'll pass on it. But the thing is, if you can get a workflow up to or a technique up to just being marginally beneficial now, then in a year from now, in 6 months from now, you're going to have more powerful tools and more powerful AI that's going to be able to go more than marginal. I mean, I wouldn't recommend you spend too much time on time-wasting efforts, although there is a learning curve and an investment of time for learning. But in terms of if you see the potential, and it's like, if the AI were just a little better this way, or the tool were just a little better this way, it would be worth it. But it's not right now. Well, don't despair, because it's going to get better. And that's where being the first person or among the first to use those tools, you're going to have an opportunity to write a special opportunity right at the edge of the learning curve that we're all going through right now. All right, well, that's a pretty general question, and I was kind of thinking about how I was going to answer that: a milestone in business or a milestone in life, or so I'll just think of it this way. For me, thinking about the biggest milestone I made it through over the last few years was getting my PhD in Korea. Uh, I I set it as a goal to do all of my work in Korean, which was not easy for me because I learned Korean late. And when I hear, when I hear Europeans speaking English, it's so good. And then I think of my Korean and it's not that good because I don't know what the reasons are exactly, but I've been here for a long time. And as a foreigner, it's pretty good, but as a Korean, it's not. And so it was hard. It was really, really hard. And but I did manage through the whole process and it was, I'm really grateful that it was before ChatGPT came along, because if ChatGPT were around, it would have been very easy to write everything in Korean now. because now with that, it's the large language models are just so good. But I did manage to finish it before that came along, and so I had to do it the old-fashioned way, and that was hard. But it was very rewarding. And having gotten it, I was proud of the effort I had made. Okay. Well, I would say, alluding back to what I mentioned about how my Korean's not as good as, a lot of Europeans' English is, I think one thing that does make languages between Western and Eastern, one thing hard about translating or even learning languages between that aren't related in the same family or even close is just there's so much different, and there's so much thinking. You have to turn your thinking upside down, and so we just don't get as good at it. And so it's I see the same thing with Korean translators into English, making mistakes that I don't think you would find making people making from other languages sometimes. And so I've made my share of mistakes for sure. It's amazing how I go back and look at old translations and, oh my gosh, I can't believe I translated it that way. So, I mean, the mistakes are everywhere. In terms of other challenges, I mean, a lot of the challenges have gone away. There used to be font problems, which were really serious. 20 years ago when I was in the business, it was pretty common to have font issues. Layout was really hard. Quark Express was the only thing available, and it was a layperson just couldn't use it. Apparently, I never tried it, but I'm told it was hard. But now with the new tools, I mean, InDesign has taken over the industry now, and it seems like anybody that can just buy the software can use it now. It's super easy. I personally haven't used it, but that introduces other problems, like people doing layout that shouldn't be doing layout. And so the mistakes are just so obvious and awful. And then it comes back for reviews, and they want us to, fix stuff that we wouldn't have had to fix if a real professional had been doing it. So that would be a challenge. I don't know if that's unique to Korean to English. Other challenges of Korean to English technical translation. I wouldn't say that the challenges are probably all that different than other languages. I do know that it's been helpful for me to do Korean and English, though, in terms of training on AI, because the generative AI is known to be better in certain language pairs than others because of the data that's available. And I think if I was a French to English translator or a Spanish to English translator, and I were talking about how great the AI is, that people would say, yeah, but I do Korean to English and it's awful over here, and I do Chinese and I do this language. And I mean, I really don't have a response to somebody who says it's awful between these two African languages, because it probably really is. But being at the Korean to English level, which is not it's not where the bulk of the market is, anybody that's translating between languages that are more common, really, if they can't really say to me that the quality is bad, because I can tell them that in a language pair where it shouldn't be as good, it's already pretty darn good. And so that's been, I think, a buffer for me on the training side. But yeah, those, I'm trying to think what else there would be. A lot of the technical challenges of Korean to English translation have really gone away over the years. Well, I can say one thing that's a challenge, and this is just an ongoing irritation, and I haven't figured it out yet, but it's the fact that it's not always clear to people, to project managers or whoever's wanting to quote on a job, that Korean is actually a word-based language, and but yet we can also count characters just like Japanese or Korean. And so it's very, very common to get a job at, I have a project here of X number of words, blah, 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 but words don't convert the same way to English words into characters. And so it's always a challenge to get it straight on counting words. and characters. I try to count characters now, but then there's like a lot of English mixed in, and so I don't know. It's a pretty esoteric area for concern, but that is an issue. Well, I didn't really just choose Korean to study. I graduated from university in Texas back in the mid 90s, and I really didn't couldn't get excited about any of the options I had available at the time, and so I came to Asia to teach English, and so I taught English in Korea. A lot of Westerners in Asia have started this way, and it is certainly not starting at the top, that's for sure. But it is a good way to get paid to live in a place. And so I just studied very hard while I was here, and I loved Korea. I remember when I first got here, though, that I thought I would study Korean for a couple of years and get fluent in that, and then I go to China and learn Chinese, and then go to Japan and learn Japanese, and then I figured I'd be a pretty smart guy, and I realized pretty quick that Korean was going to be a lifelong learning experience, that I was not going to be adding other languages to my repertoire anytime soon. And here I am. It's been 30 years now, so it hasn't been a short amount of time. And I still like being in Korea for it's another thing I don't understand exactly, because a lot of people come to Korea, they enjoy it for a year or two, and then they leave. And I get that, because there are a lot of things about Korea that aren't that great. Pollution would be one of them. The air is bad. You know, every day we have to look out the window and see what the air pollution levels are going to be, and that's not fun. But there are many things I like about it too, and so I've stuck around for all these years, but that's how I got into it.